Final Fantasy has captivated players for decades now with its rich storytelling, memorable characters, and innovative gameplay mechanics. Central to the series' success and longevity are its diverse and dynamic battle systems, which of course have evolved and adapted over the years across different entries and different platforms. From the turn-based combat of the early games on the NES to now the real-time action combat of modern titles, Final Fantasy's battle systems have continually pushed the boundary of role-playing gameplay, offering players engaging and immersive experiences that challenge their skills and make you think strategically. So in today's video, we're going to be ranking the battle systems of Final Fantasy 1 through 16, and yes, I'm finally going to include the MMOs. Can you believe it? Before we get to the list, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Leave a comment down below, let me know if you agree with the ranking or what way would you rank these. Let's go. Alright, so we've got 10 battle systems to choose from, and I'm going to list the games that go with them as well. So number 10 is going to be the Combat Synergy system from Final Fantasy 13. The Combat Synergy battle system in Final Fantasy XIII and its sequels introduced a fresh and dynamic approach to Final Fantasy combat, blending real-time action, strategic planning, and teamwork. Instead of choosing individual actions like fight or magic or item, you instead change character classes, or paradigms as they're called in this game, on the fly. Your objective is to max out enemy stagger bars using the classes provided to you to start dealing more damage to the enemy. As just mentioned, introduced in Final Fantasy XIII were paradigms, the main customization option you have available over your party. There are a large number of combinations possible, and even the same combinations may play differently depending on your playstyle. I personally found the battle tutorials to not be super helpful and kind of confusing, and it's one of the many reasons why I never gelled with this game, unfortunately. That being said, I actually really do want to give it another try and go in with no expectations and just see if I can finally dig into this game that everybody either loves or they hate. Okay, next up at number 9, it's going to be the real-time MMO combat from Final Fantasy 11 and 14. Can you believe it's actually getting mentioned in a video? I can't either, it's crazy. Now I can finally satisfy all of you Final Fantasy 14 and 11 fans by finally mentioning these games in a ranked video. So these kind of games are great, but look, they're honestly not my cup of tea. I played this game at launch actually when Final Fantasy 14 originally came out in 2013, and the MMO combat is just, I guess, fairly standard. You select an enemy to engage and then you just manage the battles from there while your character auto battles. You can of course select your actions or heal people just depending on your classes. One could argue that it doesn't necessarily have that Final Fantasy feel to it, but I mean, that's okay. I guess since it's part of the larger world with all these different expansions and stories, like I said, it's just, you know, not my thing. And I dipped out after the first few months post-launch in 2013, and I never went back to it. Now, that being said, things have changed drastically since then, so I could be wrong, but I dare say the playstyle is fairly similar to what it was back then. So look, I do want to get back to it at some stage. I just don't have the time for it right now. Number 8 is going to be the Active Cross battle system, or Active X battle system from Final Fantasy 15. When Final Fantasy 15 came out, it was clear to see what the devs were trying to drive forward with a more real and fluid feeling combat system. The open world environments of Final Fantasy 15 allow for seamless transitions between exploration and combat. Battles can occur spontaneously as players explore the world, with enemies appearing in real time and initiating combat without traditional random encounters. This, I think, out of everything, really sold this battle system to me. Yes, other games had this feature, but the way that the battles immediately immersed you into them was great and honestly really seamless, allowing you to freely run around the battlefield, dodge, parry, and perform combos using various weapons and abilities. Issuing commands to your teammates on the fly was always really satisfying, but magic, in my opinion, wasn't really worth using, and it was tied to like gathering items and then using them into battle as opposed to the kind of usual magic attacks that we're used to. Still, on first impressions, this felt like Kingdom Hearts combat to me when I first played it, and you know what? I thought it was really cool. Number 7 is a battle system that I'm slowly wrapping my head around, and it's one that you guys have asked me to talk about for a long time now in these Final Fantasy ranking videos, and that is the charge time battle system of Final Fantasy Tactics. Now, this is one that I'm still getting into because I haven't played the original Final Fantasy Tactics until recently, so I'm still working on that. But I really did enjoy Tactics Advanced as a kid. So, you know, I couldn't fully appreciate the complexities of such things until now, but I really did enjoy myself back then. Battles take place on grid-based maps where characters and enemies move across tiles and engage in combat. The positioning of units and terrain play a crucial role in battles, influencing attack range, effectiveness, and the ability to perform specific actions and abilities. Final Fantasy Tactics' innovative combination of turn-based combat and grid-based movement and the job system has influenced and inspired many subsequent tactical RPGs and strategy games. of course cementing its legacy as one of the best and most beloved titles in the Final Fantasy series and tactical RPG genre. Like I said, I'm only just scratching the surface here on Final Fantasy Tactics right now, so once I finish the game, this actually might go higher. So I will be sure to update you guys once I finally roll the credits. Okay, number 6 is going to be the Active Dimension battle system from Final Fantasy XII. As much as I truly didn't love Final Fantasy XII, I really have a lot of respect for the battle system here in this game. What really shined was the Gambit system, which allows players to customize and program the party with specific behaviors, actions, and priorities in battles. You can set up and prioritize various conditional statements, or gambits as they're called in the game, for each character to automate their actions and responses in combat, providing flexibility, control, and strategic depth in battles. Honestly, it's like a programming simulator baked into a Final Fantasy battle system. It's really unique, and we haven't seen anything like that since. I guess you could also argue that you can almost auto battle your way through the entire game if you spend enough time preparing prior to battles. Out of anything, Final Fantasy XII should be praised for combining action-oriented gameplay, strategic depth, and customization in a seamless and immersive battle system. It's really cool. Okay, reaching the halfway point here, number 5 is going to be the action combat of Final Fantasy XVI. Final Fantasy XVI really excels in propelling the series forward with action-based combat. Like it or not, you can see what was being built over the last few games. Now, I know some of you either love or hate this game, and as a result, love or hate this battle system, but this is the first true action RPG in the series with exciting and engaging combat. But you know what? I really enjoyed it for what it was. No, it's not your typical Final Fantasy experience, and that's okay. I'm all for trying something new, and if it sticks, great. And for me, this one stuck. I suppose the key word for Final Fantasy XVI combat would be fluidity. I'd argue that it plays one-to-one how battles in real life would go if they were in this fantastical world. Final Fantasy XVI rewards you for good reflexes, and mechanics are present like time combo extenders, parries, perfect dodges, a variety of counters and cancels. I'm not going to discuss the inclusion of the timely rings that essentially make the game easier, but you know what? There's a lot of individual playstyles for you to decide. The combat is as deep as you want it and as easy as you want it for those who just like to press square to win. I liked it, and you know what? If you didn't, that's okay too. How are we tracking so far? Is anybody agreeing with me? Probably not, but we'll see. So comment down below if you're following along with my list and agreeing with everything so far. Next up on number 4 spot is going to be the original turn-based system from Final Fantasy 1 through 3. You know what? I like the simplicity of turn-based battles. And in comparison to everything else that's been mentioned on this list prior to this, it really does just feel bare bones and plain. We have to remember that this is how the series started and was the foundation for everything that came after. Final Fantasy I's turn-based combat system was groundbreaking at the time of its release, offering an engaging gameplay experience that really worked well with the exploration of the game. Certain things got refined in 2 and 3, either through unique leveling system of 2 and the job system of 3, but the core gameplay mechanics stayed the same. Players select commands for each character from a menu that includes attack, magic, item, flee. Actions in battles are executed based on a turn order determined by the speed of the character and the enemy. Faster characters, or those with higher agility stats, generally act before slower characters or enemies, allowing players to plan and prioritize action based on their current turn order and potential threats. It's basic in concept, but there's a reason that this is the blueprint for so many RPGs out there that we know and love today. This next one for number 3 actually I think might be some of your number ones, or could actually be one of your lowest ones, just depending on what you like. So number 3 is going to be given to ATB from Final Fantasy 4 through 9. First introduced in Final Fantasy IV was the classic active time battle system. Think of this as the evolution of the traditional turn-based battle system, taking what worked from that and refining it in a way. I would almost say it's like an extension of the turn-based system, giving each character their own clock. When each character's bar or gauge is filled, party members perform an action. In some games, some actions have an additional wait time, such as casting spells or using summons. It's worth noting that while it was introduced in Final Fantasy IV, the bar actually wasn't visually present until Final Fantasy V. I think when it was introduced, it added this extra sense of urgency to battles. It was as real time as you were going to get back then, so there was a bit more to manage. Also introduced with the ATB system was the active and wait mode. Active allowed for battles to keep going regardless of you making decisions, and wait actually slowed it down, making it more manageable for some players. This is what I grew up with as a Final Fantasy fan, so I might actually have it higher on my list than some others. Funnily enough, when researching for this video, I actually found a lot of people don't care for the ATB system, which is kind of surprising, but hey, you know what? To each their own. The ATB system combines the strategy of turn-based combat with real-time elements, introducing a dynamic and fast-paced gameplay experience. Instead of waiting for traditional turn-based orders based on character speed or initiative, the ATB system uses the active time gauge, or the ATB gauge, that fills up over time for each character, determining when they can take their next action. Every Final Fantasy game from 4 to 9 has a unique spin on how the battles work or how the magic system works, for example, but at the heart of it, it's all that ATB system. Hold on, did you guys know that 93% of the people that watch this channel regularly are not subscribed? That's a huge number. So consider leaving a like and subscribe if you haven't done so already, because it does go a long way for a little guy like me. Anyway, on to the next one. All right, coming in at number 2 is going to be one of my favorites, especially lately, is the real-time / ATB system from Final Fantasy VII Remake and Rebirth. It's awesome. When the Final Fantasy VII Remake was originally announced in 2015, everybody was skeptical of how this was going to play out. How were they going to do it? Is it going to be like one-to-one turn-based combat, or is it going to be something else? But what we ended up getting was really awesome. And to be honest with you, it's probably the best modernization of Final Fantasy combat yet. So the Final Fantasy VII Remake has this mesh of real-time battle system with strategic elements. So it's kind of like that real-time plus ATB. You play as one party member at a time, and you can switch between the other ones on the fly. And each character has their own ATB gauge that fills up. It allows you to use items or magic or summons or any other attacks. And like the original Final Fantasy VII, we have the limit gauge, which of course unleashes a powerful limit break ability. This has been my personal favorite battle system in any modern Final Fantasy game. I think the reason why I like a lot of the older ones is maybe a bit of nostalgia. I do like a bit of challenge, but this is the way forward for Final Fantasy, honestly. And I know Square has this battle system going for the Final Fantasy Remake trilogy, but it takes everything I love from turn-based battle system and melds it wonderfully with action-based battles. Some people would even argue that this is the best battle system Square has ever designed, and I kind of agree with that. It's the perfect hybrid of old school and new school, and I hope they continue to use it in future Final Fantasy titles, not just 7 Remake trilogy, but hey, that's just me. All right, coming at the number 1 spot is going to be the conditional turn-based battle system from Final Fantasy X. I love this, and it's a shame that it's only present in one game, which is Final Fantasy X. The conditional turn-based battle system, or CTB as I'm going to call it here in Final Fantasy X, offers a unique and strategic approach to turn-based combat, diverging from the traditional ATB system used in previous entries of the series. And it's also worth noting that battles are not based in real time. In battles, there's a timeline displayed on the screen showing the order in which characters and enemies will act based on their speed and actions chosen. When an action such as using an item or casting a spell is highlighted in the menu, the change to turn order is reflected. So your actions can completely affect the order in which things carry out. This allows for some great strategizing in battles. And because you can see the turn order, you can kind of manipulate the battles to go in your favor. Of course, you can brute force your way through this game, but eventually it will catch up to you. Aside from Final Fantasy Tactics, this game is pretty much pure strategy. And if I were to describe this battle system with a phrase, I would actually say puzzle combat. It's great. So what did you think? Make sure you leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Leave a comment down below. Of course, let me know if you agree or disagree. Hit the playlist for some more videos, and we'll see you again on the next one. Ta-da!